Hey everyone, you're watching Wisdom Shorts. A man went to a barber shop to have his hair and his beard cut. He started to have a good conversation with the barber. They talked about so many things and various subjects. Suddenly they touched the subject of God. The barber said, "Look man, I don't believe that God exists." "So why do you say that?" asked the customer. "Well, it's so easy. You just have to go out in the street to realize that God does not exist. If God existed, would there be so many sick people? Would there be suffering? If God existed, there would be no pain. I can't think of a loving God who permits all these things." The customer didn't say anything. He didn't want an argument, especially when someone is cutting your hair. The barber finished his job and the customer went out of the shop. Just after he stepped out, he saw a homeless man in the street with long hair and untrimmed beard. He looked dirty and untidy. The customer turned back and went back to the shop. And he said to the barber, "You know what? Barbers do not exist." And he's like, "How can you say that? I'm a barber and you just had a haircut." He's like, "No, they don't exist, because if they did, there would be no people with long hair and beard like that guy who's sitting outside." The barber is like, "Okay, understood, but this is what happens when people do not come to me." Customer said, "Exactly same with God. This is what happens when people do not go to God. And that's why there is so much pain and suffering." When God becomes your first priority, you will become God's first priority. You may agree or disagree with the statement based on your life experiences, and by God I mean, whomever you worship, pray, and it can be anyone, a universal power, energy source, a master, whatever you want to call. When God is your priority, you will be taken care of. Let me share with you a personal experience of mine. As a kid, I was inclined towards spirituality, prayer, etc. But for some reason, when I was 12 or 13, I started detaching myself from all this. I didn't see any meaning in these rituals and started questioning everything. I didn't get any convincing answers from my elders, so slowly I started moving away from God. But when I was 18, I had some personal experiences and I became deeply spiritual. The other extreme. So I had a weekly timetable to visit temples. So I used to visit a Devi temple in my hometown every Tuesday. I never missed a single day. Come what may, it was my number one priority. So after many months, I had this deep connect with that temple and the goddess there. This temple was around 10 kilometers from my home. So on a particular day, there was this hartal, strike in the city. There was no public transport, which was my only mode of transport at the time. So I decided to walk, on that day. As I said, it's my first priority, and I was not ready to miss my visit to the temple that day. So I walked 10 kilometers, reached temple, spent an hour or something. And while coming out, I was thinking, now I have to walk back home, which is, 10 kilometers, it'll take 1.5 hours. So I came out and there was this guy in a bike looking at me, a familiar face. He was my senior in school and also my neighbor. I kind of know him, not a close contact, but, and he knows me. He smiled and he said, "Hey, I saw you in the temple and I was waiting for you to check whether you're coming with me. I can drop you back home." See, I have never met anyone from my neighborhood in this temple all these days, okay? But on that day, this guy showed up to support me. You may think it's a coincidence or, what's so big deal. But for me, it was like the universe taking care of me. And I had many similar experiences, where the universe backed me. I got the kind of resources I need at the exact time. And in my life, whenever I gave God my first priority, I was always guided and blessed. So in today's video, I want to share with you, why you have to prioritize God and pray and spend some time with the divine. There are many studies on this, association between attending religious services and living a healthy and happy life. One study found that people who goes to church every week live approximately 4 years longer than the average, and they're healthier. Heart attack rates are high among people who are non-religious. The question is why? Let me explain. The number one, the stress factor. As you know, more than 80% of our physical ailments are psychosomatic illnesses, diseases caused by stress. Stress is a code word for fear. Why are we stressed? The truth is we are scared of something, scared of failure, scared of unknown, scared of not meeting the expectation, and on. When you rely on God, when you pray, you're actually giving a big responsibility to God from your shoulders, from your head to God. Your fear comes down. You believe that God will take care of you. You believe that God will support you. You think that things will be fine. And the stronger the faith, better it is. That reduces stress from your mind. And it's a big relief. You getting what I'm saying? The second thing is the energy factor. Every place has a vibration. When you go to a marketplace, there is a vibe. When you go to a place of worship, it's a different vibe. Vibe is nothing but a collective thoughts present in a particular space and time. So this vibe can energize you or can drain your energy. And if you're mindful of this, you will know what I'm saying. You go to a crowded marketplace, come back home, and you'll be like all tired. On the other hand, you visit a place of worship, you feel peace, you will be like recharged. So this is how it works. Our state of mind is connected with what we experience with our 5 senses. So all our 5 senses are energized with positivity when you visit a place of worship. So let's start with sight. What do you see? Beautiful architecture, beautiful pictures, flowers, decoration, beautiful image of the deity. You're visually stimulated, right? Then what do you hear? The music, chanting, prayer, singing, reading of scripture, that stimulate your ears. Almost all religions in the world, they use sound to heal you. And sound heals, and it energizes your internal organs in the body. Third is the sense of smell. Most of these places, they have fresh flowers, camphor, incense, aroma of oil. There are different homa and things like that, which brings pleasant smoke. It stimulates your sense of smell. What's the next sense organ? Touch. There are different rituals in different places. If it's a temple, they will give you, chantan, holy ash, etc. to put on your third eye chakra. They sprinkle holy water in church, mosque, etc. You kneel down, you touch down, you make the sign of the cross, things like that. Touch. And the last sense organ is taste. And you get something to eat, holy water, prasad, different names, but you get something to stimulate your taste sense. So it's beautifully crafted to shift your focus. And you feel good, positive. The ambience will heal you. And when you pray, you are in the present moment. Wherever your attention flows, your energy flows there. The more you meditate on something, think of something, you will get those qualities, attributes. In this case, when you meditate on God, divine, you get those divine attributes like love, kindness, etc. So that's the reason you feel all charged up after a good prayer session. And a good prayer is not begging, for what you want. That will make your mind turbulent. A good prayer is giving thanks to blessings, whatever you have in life right now. So when you are thankful, you will receive more things to be thankful for. The third thing is the people factor. There is a beautiful Sanskrit word repeated and mentioned in our scriptures. It's called satsang, right? Satsang means true company or association, company of good people. Our association influence our thinking, big time. I told you in the beginning, right, that I moved away from God during my teenage. So one of my friends had a big influence on me at the time. A good friend of mine, and he had this communist ideologies, and he was an atheist. And he used to present these things in a very logical, rational way, which made sense to me at the time. But later when I moved to spirituality, to the other extreme, He was still my good friend. So we used to have healthy debates. He used to ask me a lot of difficult questions. To counter argue, I started exploring the logic behind most of our rituals and beliefs. And I got amazing answers. And most of these answers didn't come from books or the internet. I got it from people who are in this path. So one of my favorite thing at the time was to attend spiritual talks. There were plenty in my hometown, and I used to get timeless wisdom from these talks. Your association influence your thinking. When you associate yourself with spiritual folks, you will not have a choice but to imbibe their values. Also, when you know that there is a community to support you, a community to pray for you, it gives you tremendous confidence and power. So when it comes to God, and it's an experience, it's very difficult to prove to someone the existence or non-existence of God. For me, it's real. There is a power guiding me, supporting me. So one common question people ask is, why bad things happen to good people? So I believe in God, but why so much suffering in life? To answer this, you have to study and understand the complex law of karma. When you understand that in detail, you realize that there are no accidents in this universe. Everything is happening with mathematical accuracy. But when you try to analyze with our limited perception and limited mind, you may think that God is not fair. I believe in life we have only two kinds of experiences: lessons or blessings, and we have the power to choose. So to conclude, hour of power is your time with the divine. Doesn't matter which religion you follow. At the end of the day, all religions help us to realize that the divine within us. If you make spending time with the divine your priority, when you fall in love with God and this universe, I promise you, your life will never be the same. Thank you so much for watching. God bless.